You know him by now. His name is Dave Joerger, assistant coach for the Philadelphia 76ers. Moving on to round two in the NBA playoffs. I'm Adam Kaufman. Dave, first and foremost, congrats, obviously, on advancing. Has to be an exciting time.
Thank you, Adam. Yeah, it's fun to move on to the next round, the next challenge. Got, I wouldn't say dicey at the end. It just got a little bit more interesting with Joel's injury. And so to get that one over with and move on to the next one's very positive.
Yeah, more time for him to heal up as well, which is always a good thing. But let's go back to that previous series before we even talk about clinching and obviously having to overcome Joel Embiid's injury. The process after game 4 in particular, Joel goes down. You guys have mechanical issues with the plane. You end up having to take a bus ride back from Washington to Philadelphia. I know it's not the longest ride in the world, but still probably what players, especially professionals, don't necessarily feel like doing in the moment. But listening to Tobias Harris, he said it was a great bonding experience, real opportunity for guys to kind of chop it up, talk, just hang out a little bit. What'd you take away from it?
Not much sleep, but it just is what it is. I think, when you get all bent out of shape about stuff like that, I think that's the mindset of our guys too. Sometimes you got to roll with the punches. Sometimes shots go in, sometimes they don't. Sometimes, guys get hurt and you got to play and it comes back around. But I think it was late. We had gotten off the plane once and then went back onto the plane. We were on the buses once, went back on the plane because they thought they were going to get it fixed. So you're kind of like, okay, we're going to get home by maybe 4 a.m. No, they were like, no, it's broke. So we went back on the buses. And at that point, then we're going to come straight back. And I think the players just got in close space. And I think, it's as the season has, I've enjoyed being not here last year and now watching them evolve within this year. I don't know what went on in past years, but the team is much closer now, I think, than they were at the start of the year. And you're not talking about a whole bunch of new guys. These guys have been together in other years. So I think the growth is there. I'm coming from the minor leagues. I've taken a lot of bus rides. And the conversations you have on those are like, man, I can't sleep. You can't sleep. And you just start chopping it up. And you get 4 or 5 guys doing that and kicking ideas around. And, we came out in game 5, just fantastic.
See, these are, if obviously all goes well, like perfect scenario, knock on wood, team goes on to win a championship. These are the moments that everyone looks back on a decade later that live on like folklore of, is there that one thing like card games or an arm wrestling competition or something like that that took place on that bus ride that we're going to be talking about for a while?
Yeah, no, not on my bus. I mean, I wasn't on that bus, but it was a bus. I don't know if it had a couple tables on it, and that's when it was really good because you can sit across from each other and you can, and guys some had fallen asleep. We've been moved back onto the bus. So at that point, I think a lot of people were awake. And so I think it's kind of cool for those guys to go through that.
All right, so you come into game 5, obviously, after that whole ordeal. You don't have Joel Embiid, still go out, finish off the Wizards, which was, very important and I think great for not only just being able to do it and finish off the series, but showing that you're able to do it without your best player. How significant was that?
Well, I think, what happened was, an aggressive Seth Curry is a good Seth Curry for us. And he was really, Ben found him a lot. Ben had a terrific game, obviously with triple-double. There was just different points in the game where different guys were really, really good, but everybody was good together for most of the game. The ball really moved. Ben has the triple-double. Ben went at their switching and got to the rim a couple times. Seth gives us the outside attack. Tobias was Tobias, and it got kind of back to his rhythm of in and out, downhill, playing in the lane, playing at the rim, shooting the shot that's open, getting to the foul line, those kinds of things. Dwight Howard goes 8 for 10 from the free throw line. The crowd, he I think really enjoys watching Dwight play, and then certainly just being at home and in 100% capacity. The juice in that building is terrific, and I know the guys feel it. They've obviously enjoyed it longer than I have, just being here just this year. But it to me as like kind of a new guy, it's a really cool deal.
You mentioned an aggressive Seth Curry. Pardon me. How do you keep Seth aggressive once the team gets back to full strength?
Yeah, I think we got to continue to be intentional about putting him in action, and I think sometimes both players and fans feel like, well, if the play is 2 down, it's for the 2 to shoot. The play is for that person to be the playmaker. They're kind of the quarterback in that play. And so as we get intentional about 50% of the game is really random. And so as players, guys got to be able to get each other going. And hey, I understand this Furkan just made his last shot. I got to get him a shot. Seth's got it going. He's got, let me get out and get into a pick and roll with him and get out of the way and let him make a play. And I think our execution, and Doc said it this morning in our meetings, our execution continues to get better. Again, new staff to a team, and it takes a bit, but they're really getting it. And that showed itself in lineups that we haven't played. You talk about playing Ben Simmons basically at center with Tobias at power forward to start the game, and Matisse Thybulle, who did a terrific job on Bradley Beal, who was just an amazing player. Though that was different, and so we didn't know how long. And the guys grabbed onto it, and they played so hard. It was just terrific.
You alluded to it before. What was the energy like in a sold out building, sold out crowd for the first time? Experiencing that as, even for you, as you said, as a relative new guy, considering first season with the team, first time experiencing this because of the pandemic.
Yeah, it was cool, man, because first of all, we're coming off a loss. Secondly, we're down a player. And like, let's not go back to DC, another bus trip or whatever. But like, let's do this right here. And everybody just kind of grabbed onto each other. I thought, Doc did a nice job of managing the 2 days, because I got into my house at 6:20 that morning from after game 4. We didn't obviously do anything the next day. And we also didn't do shoot around. I mean, think about trying to get up even the next day following that at 8:30 to come in and do your testing for your COVID and then getting out on a practice floor. So we came in before the game. We had a good video session. Guys were really focused, locked in, and rested. And then you feel the crowd and you feel like your backs aren't up against the wall, but you're down a man. You're down a guy, and he's a pretty good one, right? And,
I'd say so.
They grabbed onto each other. It was just everything came together. It was real neat.
So as you look ahead then to the Hawks in round 2, and, obviously there's only so much you can say about Joel Embiid's situation, but what does that require as a team, as a coaching staff, for the players? I mean, is it kind of alternate game plans with, all right, we've got Joel, this is what we're going to do. We don't have him. This is what we're going to do. What's the mindset?
Well, first of all, we can't draw on the whole season because they made a coaching change, right? So they've been effective. They're defending much better. They have one of their best records since April 1st, I think, including Phoenix Suns and Denver Nuggets. And so they're guarding very well. They're moving the basketball. It's not just a one-man dribble show by Trae Young. He's picking his spots. He's getting to it. He's passing the basketball around. He's obviously shooting his floater. And then, they've got some lob guys in Capella and Collins. So which one do you want to try to take away? The layups or the threes or Trae's floaters and those kinds of things? That's going to be a main focus for us. But they've got issues of how they're going to guard Joel as well, and you anticipate them playing some zone, double teaming the post from different places, and so you try to prepare for. And then once you get through the first game, you're like, okay, this is what they're doing. I know they might have another tool in their box about this deal or that, but that's kind of our mindset. Is took the day off yesterday, was relaxing, had a great focused practice today. You get the game plan in today for the series. Guys understand what we're looking for. Their brains get a little full today. So we try to do a lot of running without getting them tired. Just, blow it out a little bit and had a good workout. We'll get it in again tomorrow. And then there's no shoot around on Sunday with the early start time.
Is recency bias just as important, meaning looking as much, if not more so, at what the Hawks did and what they look like against the Knicks versus, like you said, a season's worth of games that some matchups are less relevant than the more recent ones?
No, it's a good question because, and for us, we try to look at how they play us and how they play Joe, but also you try to find other teams that are similar, and there's not a lot. Like, okay, so we watched some Jokic, and how did they play Jokic once? And maybe, I don't know, Towns or some, you try to find some of those things specifically for how they've played in the last 2 months relative to, well, this is how they've played us for the last 2 years, so it's a little bit different than that. The recency is exactly right. What does their rotations look like against the Knicks? We feel it's going to be somewhat similar, but we present a different challenge than other teams do for them, and vice versa.
Is there, I guess for your team, is there, I've certainly heard Doc Rivers talk about it before, amongst others, plenty of coaches talk about it. We need to worry more about us than about them. Is there something about yourselves that you need to hone in on right now versus, just coming off the series and the success you had against Washington and kind of throwing out what Atlanta's done despite the recent success that team has had?
Well, yeah, I think there's a little bit of that. If you have to live or die on how you're going to guard Russell Westbrook, right? You're gonna play back and try to keep him away from getting to the basket, right? And now it's something different because Trae Young you got to move up and try to keep him in front of you, which is a real problem because of his ability to shoot the basketball and spray the ball around the court. So that is like an internal, hey, not that you just get settled, but you can get in a rut when you play a certain way for a little bit. So our defensive coaches, Dan Burke, Popeye Jones, just do a terrific job. Their game plans are on point and guys are executing. And that's a lot of stuff that we worked on today. But you can't just get, I mean, he's a great player. You can't just get locked on to TRAE Young because they have a lot of good players, but he kind of stirs the drink there. And so you got to worry about that a lot.
So I guess just to wrap it up here with you, it's a little redundant to what you were just talking about, but how do you, as from a game plan standpoint, how do you balance out the mindset of, TRAE Young's going to do what he does. We got to contain everybody else versus we need to slow down TRAE Young and make other guys beat us if they're going to beat us.
Isn't that the fun discussions about great players? I mean, they're having the same one. They're like, if we send 17 dudes to guard Joel,
right,
live with everybody else, or should we just let him go one-on-one and don't get in foul trouble? So that it does come back to, I think, ultimately the depth of experience is do what you do well and then deal with what the other team does. And so for us, offensively especially, we want to push the pace and get into their defense. Also by running, if Joel is ahead and can get in the post, they can't double team in transition. Those kinds of things. I think we can shoot it a little better. We shot a great game 3 in Washington, like ridiculous. I mean, they're not ridiculous because they're great players, but it was one of those nights where everything fell for us. And then game 4 was more of a struggle. So if we can get the pace going up and down the floor, we get Joel on the post, we get Ben in the paint, open up our shooters, an aggressive Seth Curry. I mean, hey, we're set.
Well, here's to more wins and more sold out buildings. Should be a lot of fun.
I'm fired up, man. I'm fired up.
You should be. This is what it's all about. This is the time to be alive right now, right? It's all about the playoffs.
Yeah, this is great. This is great. So yeah, we'll get a good short workout tomorrow and get ready. And maybe we'll get a chance to talk next week. It's I think the schedule came out. There should be some pockets of time. And if not, the following after that.
Listen, we're never going to turn you down. Anytime you're willing to chat, we're here.
You're a little overhyped today, Yanks.
no, we're feeling good. It's gonna be great. Best of luck.
Thanks, you guys.